This is Johnny with TigerBomb MMA, and today I'm going over UFC Vegas 88, Tuivasa versus Tybura. Giving you my thoughts and predictions on the whole card. It's another Apex card, which I think I'm kind of getting not used to them, but I'm kind of preferring them. Like it's like an acquired taste. Like when I was a kid, my mom would buy like Pop Tarts for us, like the variety pack, which would have had the strawberry, which was like what I wanted, and the brown sugar cinnamon, which I didn't want. So I would like be smart about it and I'd be like, yo, I'm going to eat the brown sugar cinnamon first. That way, when I eat the strawberry, it's going to be much sweeter. And I'm like, it's kind of like this. It's kind of like, hey, we're getting the Tai Tuivasa versus Tybura with a bunch of nobodies on the card, but like UFC 300's around the corner. I'm going to taste that sweet strawberry. But the downside is, after eating so much brown sugar cinnamon, I kind of liked it more. It's kind of like if you keep banging fat chicks, you're going to really prefer the jiggle of a fat chick, which unfortunately it's kind of what's happening here. Like I'm like, I can't wait to see Tai Tuivasa versus Tybura. Oh my God. I need help with that, but it's an interesting card. It's going to be a tough one to bet, to be honest. Like you're going to have to probably shill out some money to make some money here, but it's a decent enough main event. It's a heavyweight bout. I'm hoping it doesn't go past like a round. If it does, and there's possibilities to make money there on a certain guy, I think you know because you're not idiots. But before I break down that card, I wanted to give you my thoughts on the O'Malley versus Vera 2. Some people would like to call it the Poirier versus Saint Denis card, but it's O'Malley versus Vera 2. Good card. I did pretty well that night. So well that like I was about to text in the group chat in the Discord like, "Yo, this is how much money I made," and then some. Let me cut that. And then some young distinguished gentleman in the Discord posted his $10 parlay that ended up cashing him like $6,000. Tide splitter Jamal, you piece of shit. Should have been me, but props to him. But like I did pretty well. I made like 6 units that card, mostly with one particular parlay and Jack Della, and then also a unit on MVP. But I'll give you my thoughts on that card, which started off with a loss. So starting off this card, I broke even throughout the entire night until like the main event, the main card that is. So Moroz, I had a parlay with Moroz, Mbayev, and the Spain. That would have netted me like 100, maybe $110. It was a very low level parlay. Like I didn't really consider it a win, but Moroz ended up ruining it for me. Good on JoJo, retiring with a win, but what can I say about it? Like it was incredibly close, and then she got hurt, or Moroz got hurt in the third round. It was honest to God really embarrassing for Moroz. She should have been able to beat Joanne Wood, but you know, whatever. It is what it is. Amabayev defeats CJ Vergara relatively easily. Not really much to say there. Like Amabayev, his single leg is very good. Like he was just getting CJ each and every time. And then whenever CJ had a bit of momentum at any point, like that single leg was the death of CJ. And I don't think CJ's got the worst takedown defense. I really do think Amabayev just understands that when it comes to wrestling, there's going to be a certain technique that if applied correctly, and in his case, it was that beautiful single leg. Despain defeats Josh Parisian. I did have another parlay ever since the Moroz one cashed, or didn't cash, but crashed. I had Almabayev and then under 1.5 for the Despain fight. Yeah, Despain took care of him really, really quickly. I was honest to God surprised it was like 12 seconds, 18 seconds. I thought it would have been a little longer, but Josh Parisian just does not fail to disappoint. Michel Pereira, I had him as my first leg of like my main parlay, which would have been with him and Gamrot and Jack Della. He handled Olin Jacek in a way that I could have never imagined. I did predict a possibility for a submission. I didn't really think he was going to be able to hurt him that quickly, that fast, and to the body, which was in hindsight not surprising. Like, dude, if you're unable to knock him out, hit him to that supple body. And Michelle looked like a damn Terminator. Like he comes out baller as shit, dancing with his coach or whatever. Really, really cool performance from him. Like he's looking, he made it clear, dude. Like if your name is Pereira and you're a 185er from Brazil, you're a problem in the middleweight division. Felipe Lins versus Cutelaba. I literally was on a treadmill watching this fight, like because I got a treadmill to just be more active because like anytime there's a fight going on, I like to be active. So I'm watching this fight. I'm burning calories. I burned more calories walking on my treadmill than Kuchalaba did this whole fight. He didn't do shit. He he wore the green paint. He yelled in Felipe Lin's face. He had all the positive signs that he was going to come out here and try to knock his head off. There were literally no warning signs that he wasn't going to do anything. I had him on another parlay. That one obviously crashed. Felipe Lins, he did his job, right? He did his job fine. There was like there was some contention in regards to like who won the first round. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. Lins won that fight clearly. It was just very disappointing from Kutalaba. Like you didn't try. You failed yourself. Felipe Lins, he's gonna get caught. All right, like his style benefited him here, but there's gonna be a moment to fade him because like he does gas out, and there's clear opportunities to like cut off the cage and get him. But like at 1 or 205, like whatever they're feeding this guy, whatever carrots he's taking with PEDs, it's doing great. Kyler Phillips defeats Pedro Munoz. There was a bit of concern for me because like ever since I've been losing these parlays and I'm like down maybe a unit, I ended up putting like a unit on, or maybe half a unit on Kyler Phillips by the point spread, which I'm not a big like point spread fan, just in case say it does hit like a split decision by any chance, you're probably going to lose it. But it was plus money. I took it. And Kyler had some moments there where he looked amazing, and then moments where he wasn't doing much, which in this case, perfect opponent. Pedro's not like a super fast guy. He's not really going to be able to track Kyler. Kyler moved out of the way very beautifully, but when he went, the dude's combinations were sick. I was like, he might possibly knock out Pedro Munoz, but realistically to me, this was the easiest matchup for Kyler. If Kyler fought smart, he fought smart, 30-27s across the board, got me back to broke even. Gamrot, okay, I'm going to bitch a little bit about the scoring here. Round number 1. And what's crazy is that Dos Anjos, hell of a lot of experience. I kept thinking to myself moments before this happened, I wonder if Dos Anjos is going to attempt like a up knee when Mateus shoots for that low single, and he did. It caught him, but it didn't really hurt him. It more like stunned him in like, oh shit, that could have really done some damage. At that point, Dos Anjos pressed Gamrot, dropped him. At that moment, he shot for another low single. He recovered, and then it became kind of like a neutral position. Not really a lot going on. Dos Anjos is clearly winning that first round. Gamrot takes him down, holds him down for the majority, and the remainder of the round, which was like 2 minutes, plus some ground and pound. I thought very likely, not definitively, that maybe Gamrot could have stolen that round. Not to say that I gave him that round. I just thought it's a 50-50 possibility that there are some judges that are going to see that and consider that good enough to sway the round to Gamrot. Like some people were saying definitively Dos Anjos won that round, and it's not a definitive thing. Like he only landed that one shot. It did drop him, but what did he do after that? Not really a whole ton. Mateus did get some ground and pound. He took him down. He passed guard. That's a couple different things there. Like you score points in jiu-jitsu when you pass the guard. He did that to Dos Anjos. I know this isn't jiu-jitsu, but this is MMA judging. Pass guard, got control time, held him down with a takedown, landed ground and pound. Again, I'm not here to say that's going to win him the round or steal the round back, but it's pretty close. And I kind of thought like there's probably going to be a 30-27 in there because he ended up just dominating the remainder of the rounds. Gamrot looked more human in this fight. He shouldn't have been like minus 500, but guaranteed he was going to win. To me, I've been thinking more often than not, like all that matters to me when I'm betting these dudes is not how they look in the beginning, is that they fucking win. And that's what he did. But yeah, I'm just saying like there's damage and then there's overestimating the damage. Like, oh my God, he dropped him. I'm like, dude, he got dropped and he went for a single. He reversed it. How much damage was that in reality? Like that's shit you got to keep in mind. But yeah, Dos Anjos, he looked good. He can definitely still go. He can definitely still beat guys in lightweight. I wouldn't mind seeing a Dos Anjos versus Moicano rematch after, Moicano gets knocked out by Jalen Turner. Yeah, Macy Barber defeats Caitlin Samara or Chukagian. I bet Chukagian here because, like, I just couldn't pass it up. I took her I think at plus 175, I thought, you know what? Like, she is the better fighter. But Macy, despite not being the better fighter, is the better competitor, right? She's a much better competitor than Caitlin. And what I mean by that is that you can punch beautifully, you can have the better technique, you can have better takedowns, better top control, but Macy is just so rough and dirty. She'll push forward, she'll crash on you, she'll land elbows. She sometimes just being more active and just being grittier is going to win you fights. And that's what happened here. Macy definitively won this fight. Caitlin won, I think, round number 2. She put up a decent enough fight for my money, so I'm not like disappointed, but yeah, I was down at this point. Curtis Blades defeats Jailton Almeida. Now, I thought about betting Almeida. I thought, you know what, he will take him down. I even considered looking to see if, what the line was for the takedowns, who would have the most takedowns, and what the line was for that. And I'm like, nah, fuck that. I want no part in this, just because like I didn't know how to gauge it. Like, is Jailton going to be able to take him down, take his back? This was a stunt. Don't get me wrong here. It was a massive stunt from Almeida. He had him on all fours. He could have gone for the choke. He could have done more. He was just content taking him down, kind of exhausting himself. I knew that he would shoot for the takedown and he would at least get one. Curtis's takedown defense was not great. It does show that Jailton is a monster. The dude can grapple. He's strong as shit. But it also showed that Almeida is a bit of an idiot because he only has the wrestling. He doesn't have the hands. He needs to complement both. And what Blades did was literally stuff his takedown by sprawling and then just hammer fist the shit out of him, which there was moments in that fight with Black Beast where Black Beast wasn't able to capitalize because he didn't have the better sprawling ability at that point. And Curtis took advantage and just knocked him out. It was the most sad performance I've seen from a guy that close to a title. It just sucked, man. Like, I think Almeida, if you bet Almeida, it's not a complete loss. You know, I know you lost money, but I understand where you were coming from, right? Like, you were on a good side, especially if you took him like, you know, minus 115, minus 110. Shit, if you even took him at plus odds, I get it. It was a really close fight, and I do think that if, say, circumstances were a bit different, Blades would have been finished. But Blades, in this case, he didn't do anything stupid. And that's the biggest risk in betting Curtis Blades. Like, is he going to like, oh, I got him in proper position, let me go for an anaconda choke? No, he blasted him with hammer fist, and that was the correct decision here. The issue is, do I trust him at any odds to not go for that anaconda choke or something? You know, he's not known to do it, but am I going to trust him not to do it? Fuck no. But yeah, moving on. Peter Yan versus Song Yadong. Now, I lost money on Yadong. I had money on Yadong because he was like plus 175. I'm like, yo, this is guaranteed that he's going to win the first round. Can he edge out the second or the third? He definitely won the first. At that point, I should have cashed out, but I'm like, you know, let's play this out, because Peter Yan, you know, we all know what Peter Yan does. He takes his time. He does tend to lose the first round, and then he will pick up the pace. It's just that will Song Yadong show to be at that level to rise to the occasion, and in this case he didn't. There was some really good stuff from Song that he moved away from, like the early hard low kicks. He tempted him with like takedown feints, and Yan kind of bit on a lot of that. But then Yan got into his groove. He was just landing the better combinations inside the pocket, blocking things beautifully. Yan, I'm glad he's back on track. Like, Song, to me, he's still very young. He can come back. It wasn't a complete loss. Like, right, he fought the former champ, and he just needs to adjust to like a different style to like better himself. I like the takedown feints. I like what he was doing, just a little bit tighter with the striking. He was just kind of throwing home run punches each and every time. Yan just countering uppercuts up the middle. Beautiful stuff from Yan. But if I'm going to be honest, I did think that Yan looked a little less championship material, just a slight amount less. I did think that there was going to be moments in this fight, say if it was a 5-round fight, I think he might actually finish Song Yadong, but had it been anyone else in there, maybe someone in the top 5, like, hell, who was in that division? Like Corey Sandhagen, I think would have given him a lot of trouble if they had to rematch. So I'm still not 100% sold on Yan. More so, I'm curious to see what his line is going to be in the future, because he got to win. And there's some questions were answered about Peter Yan. I'm curious to see if they're going to like go above and beyond and make him like a minus 280 or something against anyone in the top other than like Merab. Like, give me plus money on O'Malley against Peter Yan. I will take it just to check out that experiment. All right, Jack Della versus Gilbert Burns. I had like 2.8 units on Jack Della to win back 2 units. I bet him at minus 140. If you track my like MMA bet tips or whatever, I actually put that I only put 2 units. That was a mistake on my part, but I ended up actually betting the 2.8. I had him on the parlay with him, Gamrot, as I called him, like Kangaroo Jack, Jumping Mikey P, and then Matty Deadlegs. Jack Della, he showed an interesting game plan here. It was a little concerning. I'm not going to lie to you, man. I thought he won the first round. I thought he landed the better strikes. Gilbert, he went for the takedowns. He had a bit of control time. The thing about Gilbert, and I understand why people bet Gilbert in this spot, like he is very experienced. He's a very smart fighter. And he knew that, like, get a takedown late, maybe land one strike. It might, just like in the Gamrot fight, even things out. In this case, there was no knockdown. Jack kind of landed the more significant strikes to the body, the diversity in that first round. I would have given it to him in the first, but not everyone did. I think only one judge did. I don't remember who. Second round, no question, all Gilbert. Like, he controlled more of the ground time. Third round, it was close. Jack was winning, landed the better strikes, busted up Gilbert's nose. He took him down. I loved what the corner said to him for Jack. Like, go knock him out. Go finish him. And that's exactly what he did. Like, Jack did a lot of bad decisions in that third round, especially in the clinching. He tried to go for a throw, and then Gilbert kind of capitalized. Ultimately, though, he sprawled out of that awkward position because Gilbert was, I don't even know what you would call it. Like, just, it was an awkward position against the cage. Jack sprawls out of it, like pushes off against, lands that beautiful knee. He timed it beautifully and then finished him off. It, to me, was a late stoppage. I was like, don't you fucking dare stop this fight. And there was a couple moments where like Gilbert was like covering up. Like, he was done way, way before those elbows started raining on him. But yeah, he cashed me out. I ended up making like 6 units plus. Great night for me. I was at the theater. I was going nuts. It was awesome. So much so that I definitely waited to make this shirt after Jack Della won, just in case, because, like, to me, I keep saying he's an honorary Mexican. So I made a shirt to commemorate that. The Jack Della Madalena Club Boxeo Estilo Mexicano. The man he saved my night. So I love what he does. One of my favorite fighters. I think he is coming for that belt. There needs to be a couple things he needs to clear up, but he called out Shavkat. It's going to be a tough fight to me. If there's a guy that can probably beat Shavkat, it is Jack, if he can get his grappling defense on point. If not, then it's going to be a rough one. If it's a 5-round fight, I'm going to lean on Jack. Next bout, Michael Page defeats Kevin Holland. It played out exactly like I thought. That's why I put that unit on Michael Page. I'm like, it's going to be a clown fest, right? It's going to be Michael Page dancing around, just landing the harder strikes, possibly even hurting or knocking out Holland. And Holland, he doesn't have the best takedowns. It just was what it was. Like, he did get him down in the second round, and I'm like, this might be trouble. But, Page, he's had grapplers trying to take him down for a long time, better grapplers trying to take him down. And they weren't able to finish him on the mat. So I was like, you know what? Kevin's got this. Not Kevin, but Michael's got this. He ended up getting back up. He lost one of the rounds. It is what it is. Michael Page, it wasn't a great fight, but it was a great showing for Michael Page. The fact that, like, he can beat a guy like Kevin Holland. They were talking about, like, Kevin Holland's got much better wins. Wins don't mean shit if your style doesn't match up against the guy that you're fighting here. And in this case, he had the skills to beat him. He just didn't have the style to beat him. Michael had the style. And then we got Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis. Dear God, my biggest regret of this night, seeing that I had all this money in my bank account on my Bovada account. I'm like, I need to bet Dustin Poirier. When do I bet him? And I was going to bet him right at the start of the second round because I'm like, I don't care what Benoit does. As long as Benoit doesn't finish him off in the first round, Dustin's going to be live. I waited a little too long. I was going to take him at like plus 220. Then he dropped it plus 200 and then plus 195. I'm like, it's too late for me. Like, it's not that worth it. Instantly, Benoit goes after him. And at that point, I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Like, I'll wait until, say, the third round. At that point, I'll take him. And then Dustin didn't have to wait that long. He knocks him out. And then what ended up happening is the shit I've been saying about Benoit for the longest time. Here's the shit. I'm not a hater of Benoit. I like Benoit. When he came into the UFC, when he fought Zaleski, I'm like, this guy's got skill, but I don't know if he's going to, like, be able to, like, withstand a guy like Zaleski who's got good takedown defense. He is a brute. He goes after you. He takes you down. He is strong. He can grapple. If he cannot implement that style on you all the time, and I mean not give you any rest or any ability to counter him, there's going to be an opening there for Dustin to capitalize, and that's what Dustin did. He caught him. He kept hurting him. I was surprised he was hurting him with the shots that he did. You know, the staff on his head might have been, you know, part of the reason, but Benoit is such a defensively irresponsible fighter when it comes to striking. He is just doesn't move his head. It's stationary. He literally is so comfortable taking a shot to then shoot a shot. You know what I'm saying? Like, eat a punch and then shoot for a takedown. And I noticed that in the Gabriel Miranda fight. I'm like, this guy got rocked by Gabriel fucking Miranda? Like, are you serious? That's why I'm like, this guy is going to get knocked out by Bonfim eventually. This guy is going to get tired and then get beat up by Moises. And then, Fervola is going to eventually catch him with something. But Fervola, like, each one of those guys just did the shit that that Benoit Saint-Denis needed them to do. And Poirier was like, fucking, even Poirier jumping for guillotine. I'm like, this fucking idiot. But like, it all worked out in the end. He ended up catching him. That's exactly what we needed. I had Poirier. I didn't bet on him, unfortunately. But yeah, that was a great opportunity. If you took him live, if you believed in him, great props to you. And then O'Malley really beat the shit out of Marlon. Like, Marlon, that wasn't Chito that night. That was Marlon Vera. Because that dude he looked pathetic. Like, legit, like, he didn't fight the way we needed him to fight. Not to say I was, like, on one side or the other. I was super, like, split. Like, I think for everything about O'Malley that I don't like, I know he's necessary for this division. He saved this division and made it popular, made it fun. He's main eventing. I cannot hate on the guy. He's got the style. I love the pink shorts. I was looking to buy some because I'm like, yo, those are fucking dope. And then Marlon is Marlon. Like, Cheeto's a bad dude. I'm like, yo, this fight after round number 2, that's when Cheeto's going to come out. He's going to whip his ass. He didn't bring out Cheeto. He left him at home. Like, it was just the weirdest shit. Like, there was moments where he would go after Sean and he would, like, put Sean in danger. And what sucked is at the very end of the fight, he did catch him with, like, literally the most perfect body shot to Sean. But literally, that's when the round ended. Like, that body shot, when they replayed it, I was, oh shit, that would have been the beginning of the end for Sean. If Sean would have telegraphed that, like, yo, he would have sold it, Marlon would have gone after him and maybe he would have finished them, but it would have been close enough to, like, put me in danger had I had money on Sean. Sean looked great, though. He looked near perfect in there, right? He did take that body shot. He did kind of get in trouble a little bit of the time when Marlon kind of bum rushed him. But other than that, quite flawless performance. Didn't lose a round. Looked every bit of the megastar that I think he's going to be one day. Right now, he's kind of still climbing up there. There's still a lot of doubters. He's not at the McGregor level, but he does present himself like a champion. When he walked out for the first time as a champion, I was like, oh, shit, like, this dude is the champ. I know he beat Aljo, but to me, that didn't feel right. Like, was Aljo really the champion? He just beat a guy that was holding the belt. But when he walked out with the belt and the championship, like, gear, I was like, oh, this is the champ. So, yeah, it was a good night. I had a good amount of fun. I went to the theater to watch him. Awesome, though. Like, again, like, I think total right now, I'm, like, up, like, 4 point something units, like, with all my losses and shit. And prediction wise, I'm, like, at 67.35% accuracy. So I'm doing all right. I don't fucking suck. All right. But yeah, let's get started with the actual Tuivasa card here. First fight of the night, we've got Chad Anheliger, the monster, versus ferocious Charlamopoulos Grigoriou. Minus 205 for the ferocious one. Come back on Chad. Chad, too bad. Plus 170. The plus 170 is a fraud lie. I looked at it earlier and it wasn't there anymore. It's like plus 145 ish. I think people are kind of catching on Chad. The thing about Chad, he's an easy fade if you just kind of wiki cap him. If you just look at him, you underestimate the guy. He's 12-7. You're like, yeah, this guy sucks. He's going up against a guy who's 8-3. You look at it like TKO, another TKO, and then he TKO'd Cameron Smotherman. Cameron was I don't remember if he was a significant favorite in that matchup in the Contender Series, but he knocked him out. It was, I had money on Smotherman. I thought he was the better fighter. I don't want to say it was an early stoppage. It was a justifiable stoppage. I'll say that. It wasn't great, but it was justifiable. And I think that's kind of overhyping Grigoriou. My bad. I can't pronounce his fucking name. All right. I think he's a solid fighter, right? He does a lot of things well. He's training out of a good camp in Serra-Longo. He has power in his hands. He's a good kickboxer, right? Good grappler, even like decent enough to beat a certain level of guy. But I do think that the Smotherman knockout is putting him at an amount at minus 205 that is, to me, very unjustifiable. I kind of bought into it early when I looked at it. I'm like, yeah, I think you should beat Chad. Chad is on the decline. That was pre-tape. I had to kind of refresh my memory on Chad just because like I do have a faint memory of him and how he fights, but it's a little deceiving, right? The guy's a very deceiving kind of fighter. It's just I think he's had certain matchups that have been rough for him. And now, if I'm going to be honest with you, man, I think this is one of the easier matchups for Chad Anheliger, right? Even if you go back to Jesse Strader. Jesse, shit, how is old Jesse doing? Let me check on Jesse Strader. Because like I was kind of high on Jesse Strader. Like I knew he had his issues, but the guy can rip to the fucking body. He's 7-3. He's on a win streak. He's on a nice little win streak. All right. I know he had a no contest his last fight, but I like Jesse Strader and I'd like to see him back in the UFC at one point. The dude he's a fun dude. Very, very muscular, very strong, ripped to the body, good striker. A little irresponsible with his chin. But even him, I think, was a better matchup or a tougher matchup for Chad Anheliger than Grigoriou here. The thing is, I think Grigoriou, he hits hard. He can match maybe Anheliger strike for strike, but he doesn't have, say, the footwork of Anheliger. Anheliger's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. He can wrestle. He's 37, I know. He's got a lot of losses on his record, but I think this is the kind of guy that, like, despite his age, he's up there for a bantamweight. He's still developed a lot of skills and he still has that mobility, that momentum. And now they're giving him a guy from the Contender Series who I had to go back and rewatch it. I had a fucking trouble finding the fight between him and C-Rod and Grigoriou, that is. C-Rod beat his ass. Like, not like, oh my God, he's murdering him, but like he beat his ass to the point like Grigoriou just couldn't fight back. And I feel like he's got that confidence of knocking out a bunch of nobodies and Smotherman in this case, that like he feels uber confident. He's making his UFC debut, but I really don't think he's got the skill for skill to match Chad Anheliger. Like if he catches Anheliger, I think, yeah, he can maybe knock him out. He does have power. He has good leg kicks. But to me, he's kind of mid. He's kind of a mid-level guy. And Chad, not to say he's not a mid-level guy, but to me, he's like slightly above that. He has the X factor of like good movement. He's got good footwork. He's got good punches. He's got like a flowy style, very loose. I can't think of who he reminds me of, but he has like a very like, damn, I see it, but kind of like a Dominic Cruz style if Dominic Cruz actually hit people hard. And Chad, like he's got good takedowns. I'm leaning Chad, right? I know there's a lot of risk on him. I think I do see people leaning Chad as well. I just think he's just a very solid fighter. And despite his age, I think he can do some damage to Grigoriou. And I actually think that he can put on the better performance. And this is kind of like a theory I'm kind of working with because as like me being a judge and shit, sometimes like we look at these as fights, and sometimes they're not fucking fights, right? You can get two guys like for the heavyweights, that's going to be a fight, and then at a certain point, it might turn into a contest. But what I mean by a contest is who's going to do more to appease the judges, right? Who's going to do that little extra to differentiate themselves to give, say, me the ability to just say, yeah, that guy won the round. If these two guys are going tit for tat on the feet, who do I feel more comfortable in to go for the takedown? I think Chad, because he is on a 2-fight losing streak, he needs this fight. He really does. I do think he's going to go for takedowns. He's not fighting a super rangy guy like Jose Johnson, which he had some success with. I think that despite the fact that Grigoriou can get takedowns of his own, I think it's going to be Chad that's going to be the one mixing him in better. So if it's like tit for tat, Grigoriou lands a big shot on Anheliger, he eats it. Chad comes back with like a kick, maybe a nice right hook or something, left hook. Then he goes for a takedown. That might seal him the deal. So I am leaning Chad Anheliger by a decision. I'm not completely sold on it just because there's a lot of danger here. But as a dog, if he continues to become like, say, the plus 170, I might have to put a shot on him, take a maybe half unit bet on him, because I'm not sold on Grigoriou at all at this point. I think that he is at an all-time high in confidence, but confidence sometimes gets sapped away after you get punched in the mouth. So I'm going to go with Anheliger for the time being, right? If I see something like, say, he has a giant staff horn coming out of his head, I might change my mind. Moving on, we've got Corey McKenna versus Jacqueline Amorim. Amorim minus 115. Come back on Poppins. Low key a baddie. Corey McKenna. Corey McKenna is like, she's got it. Whatever she's got, I want it. Minus 105 for her. I like this matchup because we get to find out more about both women. I think Corey McKenna is a solid, strawweight fighter. She's 8-2, training out of Midget Academy, Team Alpha Male or Team Alpha, I think, because she ruined it, by the way. Like, she happened to be a woman, and they're like, oh, we can't have that anymore. And Jacqueline Amorim, ridiculously good takedowns. Did I just say takedowns? That's not correct. I'm going to get on her takedowns. Ridiculously good jiu-jitsu. Very good sweeps. I'm worried about her takedowns. That's what I meant to say. But we seen her do the Brazilian death gas against what the hell's her name? Let's find out. Sam Hughes. I'm not sure how to really view this fight. I have a general idea. I think Amorim obviously is going to want to get it to the ground. Corey McKenna would also like to get it to the ground. Is Corey going to try to strike with her? Corey's got the shortest reach. He's got 58.5-inch reach compared to the 68 of Amorim. Is Amorim going to maybe get a little too hasty? See, the thing is, I'll break it down quick. Amorim definitely learned from her last loss that don't go all out. Don't exhaust yourself for takedowns. Like, just let things flow. Shit, let Corey take you down. I think it would be very wise for Jacqueline to try to strike with Corey. Corey's probably going to be faster and much more of a technical boxer. Not to say she's like this grand wizard on the feet, but I think Amorim having that reach advantage, just throwing kicks, and then finding those opportunistic abilities to get her down, maybe getting her with a trip, maybe going for a single, double, whatever. I don't quite like Amorim's takedowns because I think she might waste too much energy here against Corey McKenna, who I think is going to be able to stuff the takedowns. I'm just worried that she's going to gas herself out. That's my biggest worry here. If Corey can take advantage of, say, maybe hurting Jacqueline, like slipping and ripping, like landing to the body, she can definitely like hurt Amorim to the point that she might gas and start flopping to her back again. Although I think that's not going to happen. I think it's going to be more of a skillful affair because Amorim has learned her lesson. Like, imagine you gas yourself out and you get beat up by a girl like Sam Hughes. The embarrassment of that, I'm sure you're never going to do that again. So it's a close fight, obviously, because of the odds. Had this Amorim loss not happened to Sam Hughes, she would be minus 400 here, because like the thought would be Corey McKenna's going to rush in, try to take her down after maybe eating a shot, because that's what she does best. She goes for the takedown. She has good, solid top control, good submission. I think she got the Von Flue, right? Yeah, she got the Von Flue on Miranda Granger. That ain't going to happen here. If it will, if Amorim gets exhausted, but realistically, I think Amorim's going to eventually find it here. Like, I think there's a chance that she gets the submission in the first two rounds. If she doesn't get it and she does start the gas, I still think she is capable of surviving. I don't think Corey's kind of got that kind of power to eventually win the decision. So I'm going to say round number 2. We'll see what Jacqueline's game plan is. I'm not like interested in betting her. If anything, maybe taking a look at Corey if things get a little, you know, suspect. But I'll go with Amorim here for a decision. All right, next bout we've got Josh Culibao versus Danny Silva. Newcomer as well, Danny Silva. He is El Puma plus 150 comeback on Kuya. Josh Culibao minus 180. I wasn't sure about this fight because I remember cashing a ticket on Danny Silva in his Contender Series fight where he beat the shit out of Angel Pacheco, and I was impressed by the kid. I was like, this guy's got some definite skill, but I'm getting the feeling that this card is the fade the Contender Series guy card because although I do think Danny has a bright future, the the abilities of Josh Culibao, his style, his fluidity on the feet, his power, his just awkwardness sometimes also match with, training out of a good camp, training with some good people, and fighting the much better competition, to me, is just going to push him a step above. I think Josh is uber talented. He did have that awkwardness with, damn, what's his name? The Black Manchester guy, Leon Murphy. That was a weird one because like Leon Murphy kind of hurt him at a point, like, but he hurt him in like a way that like it wasn't obvious. Like it just showed that Josh was maybe internally bleeding or something, but he didn't fight it himself. But the guy is definitely very, very good. Danny Silva, good boxer, good low kicks, can get out grappled at certain points by certain guys he doesn't expect. And I think Josh is one of those guys. Like Josh is a very good striker, very fluid on the feet, southpaw, and he can mix takedowns from here and there, and he's able to get submissions. I just think, if I'm being honest, man, like I think Danny is very good, but this is a tough matchup for him. Is he able to overcome Josh? It's possible, right? Like he has power, he's got the striking ability. He's gonna try to make this a little dirtier, but I think he's better suited at making this more of a clean technical matchup. And if that happens, I think Josh is just too good on the outside. He's too good with his movement. He's too good with his footwork, too good at like kind of gauging the distance. And that's what I'm seeing here. Skill for skill, I think Josh is just a bit ahead of Danny Silva. And that's the thing. Like Danny Silva just got a contract to the UFC. I like to look at that as like a meal ticket. Like maybe you didn't get a giant check to join the UFC, but you're acting like you did. You're acting like you got $100,000 signing bonus. Are you going to be like buying better supplements, eating better food, getting better training partners, just because you believe in yourself that much that you might actually level up to the point that you can maybe beat Josh Culibao? I'm not sure if he's doing that. I don't think that's like a. I'm not going to go with that narrative, but I always think about that when it comes to certain guys that say maybe missing something in their game that if they were to work on that for like a certain amount of time, it might push them over the edge here. I think that at one point, Danny Silva is going to be better than Josh Culibao, just not at that night. So I'm going to go with Josh Culibao by a decision. I think he's just going to be able to land the better shots, just be the better overall mixed martial artist here, where I think Danny is definitely good. I know he can stuff takedowns, but a guy like Josh who can equally, hurt you on the feet and kind of stifle you with takedowns. Not to say that Josh is going to actively look for them. I think just Josh is just more fluid on the feet. I'll go with that. So decision, Josh Culibao for me. Next bout. All right. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say I watched every single one of Mitch Ramirez's fights, but I will tell you one thing about Mitch Ramirez. I kind of like this guy, Mitch Ramirez. He's fighting Thiago Moises. Number one, his name, the Fight Stalker. As a guy from LA, I wasn't born around the time that this happened, but the Night Stalker, which was Richard Ramirez. Oh shit! Why did I not get that? His name is Mitch Ramirez. No shit, I didn't think of that. I didn't realize. I didn't correlate that it was Richard Ramirez and he's Mitch Ramirez. But yeah, he killed a bunch of people back in LA. Uh, Piece of shit guy. But the dude, Mitch Ramirez, he reminds me a lot of like say a Mexican imported version. of the way that Mexicans view great value food from Walmart version of Benoit Saint-Denis. He is a hard-nosed guy. He is a tough dude. He goes forward, but he's lacking in athleticism. In this case, he's lacking in a lot of things, but the dude is tough, and you can't help but root for the guy. In his contender series fight against Prates, I was rooting for him. This guy was getting pieced up. I'm like, yo, Mitch, go get him, Mitch. But ultimately, he succumbed. He got hit. He's a tough dude. He got quote unquote knocked out. Is it considered? It was a TKO. Like the ref stopped it. He's like, that's enough. He hit the ground. He was still with it. He was getting back up, but like the ref had seen enough. But the guy is he's a very fun guy to watch if he gets the right opponent where these guys go to the death. And that's what I like about Mitch Ramirez. But I don't have the odds. Let me look him up because I want to see what Moises is at, because we know what Moises' game is. Let's see. It is minus 360 according to best fight odds via Betway, plus 280 for Mitch Ramirez. And I think that's fine. Can Mitch win this fight? Because I'm picking Moises, right? That's what I'm taking. Can he win this fight? Give me a second here. Let me fix something. Yeah. All right, we're back. I just realized that I was in the wrong topology because I have like 7 of them just in case. Say I'm recording this shit and I accidentally like save my picks, which I did on the last one. But yeah, it kind of spoils everything. But yeah, is there a way that Mitch can win this fight? I suppose there is, really. Like, I think Moises has him covered everywhere. He's a better striker. He hits hard. He's got the better jiu-jitsu. He's got the better takedowns. He's just got him covered everywhere. But Moises, what he doesn't have is heart. I don't think he has the heart. I think he's willing to call it a day, like we saw with Benoit. Benoit melted him. Like, it was I don't want to say it was a pathetic performance because he at least tried, right? It was just more of like the ref is saying, move, fighter, move. And he's just like, nope. Come on, Moises, move. Go at least to the 3rd round. Maybe you can like recover and maybe he'll be tired. He's like, no. I'm like, oh, all right, then. If Mitch can do that to Moises, just kind of move forward, eat the shots, tire him out, just rinse and repeat the Benoit Saint-Denis style and game plan, sure, I think he can win this fight, like maybe in the 3rd round. But if Moises mixes in everything well, he comes in like this is a lower level opponent. He doesn't deserve to be in the cage with me, and it treats him like that. I think he finishes him. I think he finishes him with a rear naked choke in like the 2nd round. Mitch, again, I like Mitch. I'm glad he's in the UFC. I want him to fight appropriate level guys, but I see him fighting guys like this Tavares character. That kid, man, it's not looking good. Like, he's beating guys that definitely shouldn't even be mentioned in any sort of low level YouTube, no subscriber YouTube channel, talking about UFC at all. Like, this Aaron Tavares, maybe one day, but at that night, it was just like, no, man, like, guys, Mitch isn't really, is he UFC level? Sure. I think he can beat certain guys in the UFC if you're asking me that. But is he like upset Thiago Moises? I don't think so at all. So I'm going to go with Moises submission round number 2. Like, I like Mitch a lot. Like, super cool belly tattoo, but that's not enough for me to say he's going to win this fight. Next bout here, we've got Ode Osbourne versus Rafael Filho. Filho is minus 175. Come back on Osbourne plus 145. This one's tough because I don't know what to expect from either guy. If you don't know, if you don't follow the channel, there's a certain level of guys, certain guys in general that I put on the like no fly zone, and that's Ode Osbourne. He's on the you don't fucking bet this guy. I don't care if you think there's value. I don't care if Rafael Filho tells you directly and he's like, Johnny, put all of your money. I'm going to take a dive. on my mother's grave, I'm doing this. I'd be like, there's some way that Ode Osbourne's gonna do something to ruin this, and you're gonna accidentally knock him out, or he's gonna tap to something, like you're gonna throw a leg kick just to like make it seem like a competitive matchup, and he's gonna like, oh, you broke my leg. I'm like, no, I can't trust Ode Osbourne. Ever since that fight with Tyson Nam, where he jumps up in the air, hands down, and then he gets blasted, I was like, yo, like, I know he's done this in the past with Brian Kelleher, where he had to tap with his feet. I cannot trust him. I know he pulled off the upset and cost me money against Charles Jordan, Charles Johnson, Charles Jourdain, Charles Johnson, but still, like, I can't. I even thought, like, you know what? He has a chance against Almabayev, because Almabayev I was not impressed by, but we found out that Almabayev is just relentless. And Filho, I've not been uber impressed by him because he hasn't really shown what I needed to see from a guy that trains out of that shooter box camp. But I'll tell you this, why I'm going to pick Filho, because I have to pick Filho, even if I do think that there is a chance that Ode Osbourne can win this fight. I think he has sensational striking. He has decent enough cardio. He's a strong boy. The issue that he does cut a lot of weight to make 125, but he's got the longer reach. He's got the skills to beat Filho, and I think he might be able to possibly knock him out in the first 2 rounds, either attack the body or just hit him with something good. He's a very tricky customer, Ode, in the beginning, right? First few rounds, he's tough to beat. But Filho, my biggest concern with him has always been like he doesn't show that grittiness. Like he is tough, right? We've seen it. Like he got that knee bar on Mokaev, but he ended up getting, finished by him eventually in that same round. And his fight with Barez, is it? Yeah. I picked Barez. I'm like, Barez is going to run through him. And he did run through him. But it's like Filho unlocked what he needed to unlock. Like he unlocked that like fight or flight mentality that he kind of had in, the training room where he's getting his ass beat by guys like, Willie Cat. And funny enough, oh my God, Elvis Brenner. Like he finally felt the like, oh shit, like I'm gonna die. I got hit to the body super hard, but then he recovers on the mat, and then he like says, "I'm going after this motherfucker," and that's what I needed to see from Filho. Like I didn't expect that from him. That's why he cost me. He didn't cost me money. Like I lost money. He beat Barez fair and square. It was just like I didn't expect that from him. I need to see that guy here. I need to see him if he shows up. That aggressive version of Filho who's like, I can take your shot, motherfucker. I'm gonna come after you. You're not gonna be able to stop me. I think he can definitely put some damage on Ode Osbourne. I think he can make Ode work. I think he can eat the punches. He has to be up close to him, clinch up with him, try to get him to the ground. I think Ode does have good takedown defense. Just chip away at him enough to eventually take over. And that's why I think the -175 isn't the best line for him. I think he might drop the first round. I think it's going to be competitive enough where he does drop to like maybe +100 or even like -120, where at that point, if you see Ode kind of huffing and puffing, you would take him because he is the better, more skilled fighter. And I think he's still 30 years old, but I think being in that fight with Barez is what he maybe needed to get his feet wet in the UFC. Like he's got his first UFC win. I think he's got the ability to take that ass whooping up front and then dish it out later. We saw that he can take the ass whooping, and I finally now saw that he can dish it out. It's just in the Contender Series in his past tape, he's kind of like a very pretty kind of fighter. Not necessarily that he's like doing things beautifully and technical, but he likes to take his time. I need this guy to go after it. And I think that eventually he can finish Ode Osbourne by a submission, say round number 2 or 3. And it's not to say like, oh, he got submitted by Almabayev, like Ode is going to get submitted here. That's not the case at all. I think that if Fialho, who is very good on the mat at black belt, can just extend the fight, he can definitely take over and beat Ode. It's just that I don't feel the need to bet him up front. I don't feel the need to put him in a parlay. It's like his line's going to definitely drop live, so I'm going to stay away from it. But I'm going to go with Fialho submission round number 3. Again, I do think Ode is live. I just cannot bet him. He's on that list. If he comes out here and he does things beautifully, that's the shit, man. I know he's capable of doing it. I know he is capable of putting on a great performance, staying safe on top, landing punches cleanly, but I just cannot trust him to not jump up in the air and get blasted with a head kick as he comes down. Like, I just can't do it. So I'll go with Filho submission round number 3. All right. The fight of the night right here, ladies and gentlemen. Josiane Nunes versus Chelsea Chandler. Josie minus 150, Chandler plus 125. I'm not going to sit here and bullshit you. Chandler is a live dog in this matchup. The issue as to why she is a dog is, she's kind of an idiot. We cannot trust her to do what she needs to do against Josiane Nunes. It ultimately comes down to this. Chelsea has, I believe, is she a purple belt? Let me check here. She is a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. She has a lot that I like, right? She's got great top control. She's got the Diaz kind of mean mugging style. She's got the boxing ability. And in her last fight against Norma Dumont, BBP, the big booty power of Norma Dumont, I think that first exchange where she got cracked, it broke her mentally, and she's like, shit. But that was a much better fighter than Josiane Nunes, mostly because, that was her actual size. Chelsea Chandler actually could see the eyes of Norma Dumont without having to look down. Like, Josiane Nunes is a little pit bull, but she's 5'2". She's tiny. I faded her against Faraziem. No, not Faraziem. Zara Farin. And the main reason is that I kept thinking, she's like +2 something. She sucks, but she's huge. Sometimes just bigger is better. And she proved it in the first round where she won the first round, and then she slowed down. And the thing about Nunes is that she is tough. She will cut that distance with the Superman punch. She will come after you, and she will steal the round away from you if you show any bit of hesitation. Will Chandler be able to keep it on the outside? She's not much of a kicker. She's very awkward. She's very plotty. Really bad footwork. She kind of just moves forward, but she's very physical herself. She's a big girl. But she's dropping the 135. At 145, I like the mass that she has. You know what I'm saying? I like the mass in her. But at 135, I want to see them face off before I feel comfortable, because it's listed that she is the same size as Zara Farin. I don't know if that's true. I like Farin because she has the ability to kick from the outside, like just throw kicks. She was blasting her with kicks, Josiane Nunes, that is, to the body. She was going up with knees, and then she stopped going for knees. I was fucking furious. I think Chandler's smart enough and honestly a much better fighter, much grittier, to be like, I can blast her with knees up the middle. I can clinch her up against the cage, kind of blast her with elbows, just keep her in my distance. And even if it gets, clinched up, I think she can do some good damage in there. It's just that Josiane hits really hard, and she is a woman that will not stop until she wins. And that's why she is the favorite. You can trust her on that. You can trust that she can get cracked, and then she's going to take that personal and go after Chelsea. And I don't know if Chelsea's going to be able to not run away the opposite way like she did against Norma Dumont. So there's a lot of danger in Chelsea Chandler betting her. There's also a lot of danger in betting Josiane Nunes against a really tall girl at a weight class below her. They were both featherweights. They're both dropping down. So is Josiane Nunes' chin going to be able to hold up? Is Chelsea Chandler's chin going to be able to hold up? There's a lot of questions here. All I know is that Chelsea is a live dog. I just don't know if she's got the adequate skills to keep Nunes at bay. Because if Nunes just continues to close that distance, she's going to start popping off on her. And we've seen Nunes beat bigger girls. We saw her beat Faraz or whatever. We saw her beat Bia Maliki, where she knocked her out so bad she's never been the same again. Apparently she's got I don't know, I forgot what it was, but she's got issues sleeping or some shit like that. She just cannot come back. And then she couldn't knock out Ramona Pascal, but that's neither here nor there. She sucks. I don't know how to gauge this fight because there's just so many question marks. I have to go with the dog. I'm not saying she's going to win. I'm not saying I'm going to bet on her. I just feel as if if it's a really close fight, I have to go with the dog. I'll go with Chelsea Chandler by decision. If she does what she needs to do here, and that is Keep it on the outside. When Nunes does kind of close the distance quickly, you clinch up. You try to take her down because she does have the more physical ground and pound. She does have the better jiu-jitsu. And she is fighting at this point a much easier, quote unquote, opponent than her last opponent, Norma Dumont. I think that if Dumont fought Nunes, she would have knocked out Nunes. Fuck, maybe, oh my God, imagine she knocks out Dumont. That'd be crazy. But I'll go with Chandler by a decision here. Nunes is a tough girl. I respect her a lot. But imagine, man, you're beating up girls when you're 5'2", and they've got like a shit ton of reach on you. And funny enough, she doesn't have that much reach on her. Chandler only has 1 inch of reach on Nunes here, but she's got what, 6 inches of height. It's a whole penis length. So I'm gonna go with Chandler here by a decision. Next bout, we've got Mike Davis, Beast Boy, versus Lethal Natan Levy. I've been saying this for a while, so I'm not going to spend time on it. I like Mike Davis in this spot. I think he finishes Natan Levy in like the second round. Levy, he's got that karate background. He's a solid guy. He's a solid guy beating the lower level guys in the UFC. Mike Breeden? I like Mike a lot. It's just that Mike he can get out physical in certain occasions, and then he beat Generico Valdez over here. Like, I thought Generico would at least hurt him, but Natan, he's very good at like mixing things up, keeping you on the outside with his beautiful kicks and striking, and then panic wrestle and then grab you down to the floor. And then Rafa Garcia just kind of ran a train on him. And Mike Davis, great wrestling and even better striking. To me, that's a recipe for absolute disaster. He's not active enough for my taste because everyone, literally, anytime I go on like Twitter, is like, where the fuck is Mike Davis at? We need to see more Mike Davis. Great dude. Like, I think it's going to be a really rough night for Natan Levy. I don't see a way he can win this fight unless, say, Davis gasses himself out trying to wrestle him. If, say, Natan Levy lands some sort of like spinning back kick, because he is dangerous for sure. He is very capable of maybe surprising Mike Davis. But if this is a matchup where Mike Davis is firing in all cylinders and he respects Natan Levy, he is going to finish him. He finishes him more often than he doesn't. So I'll go with Mike Davis finishing him up with strikes because I think Natan Levy does have kind of a little sussy chin. But, you know, it is what it is, really. Like, I won't go into that detail, but I think Mike Davis is going to knock him out in like the second round. If this gets extended to the third, I don't think Levy has that kind of gas tank. He is known to gas out. Mike Davis kind of gassed himself out against Borshev, but Borshev would do some real damage to Natan Levy as well. Despite his last fight, Borshev, that is, where I still think he won. But whatever. I got Natan Levy to get imploded here by the second round. All right, next bout, we've got Gerald Meerschaert versus Brian Barberena. Plus 160 for Bam Bam. Come back on Gerald Meerschaert. I can talk about the fight, or I can talk about how much I love Brian Barberena. I can't do both. I like Bam Bam a lot, but he is at that point where if Meerschaert shows up, he's not going to win this fight. Bam Bam, what I love about Bam Bam so much is that he is willing to go full kamikaze here. He has that kind of chin. He has that kind of power, but he's really outmatched against Gerald Meerschaert here. Like, Gerald is not a great fighter. He's capable of great performances. And when you least suspect it, AKA here, he's very known to shit the bed. And this is not a clear-cut, oh my God, Gerald's going to win. It's just a clear-cut, Gerald is the better fighter here. He's the bigger fighter. He's got the tools to make this an easy fight, which would lead people to parlay Meerschaert or to bet up Meerschaert. The main thing that Meerschaert has is a beautiful body kick. He, to me, has terrible chin, goofy last name, goofy-looking eyes, beautiful body kick, top-tier body kick. I've seen that shit land on dudes and crumple them. On top of that, nasty submission game as well. But the chin, gasses himself out. I think if Meerschaert shows up and he is in shape and he takes this as a serious fight, even though, Bam Bam here is looking kind of like a fucking 10-pound sack of shit in a 5-pound sack because he's all, lumpy. I think he finds that liver and he finishes him, and it's tough to say. I think Mearshart can land that liver shot, and Brian's been dropped. Not to say that he's weak to the body, but to me, that's like the simplest thing to do. It just hit him to the body, bro. Like Bam Bam's not gonna stop him until you fully stop him. If say Mearshart does land like a straight right or something, he might be able to jump guillotine. But Bam Bam's a tough dude. I want Bam Bam to win. I want him to retire, man. He's got a farm down in like the South. Like the dude seems to have like a good life. Dude's awesome. I've always been a fan of his. But at this point, moving up to middleweight, you're fighting dudes that are just going to be sometimes too quick for you. Even that's a crazy shit. Like he's a smaller guy from a smaller weight class, but I still think he's going to be more than likely the slower guy here against Mearshart, who is not a fast guy himself. I am reluctant to say it, but I'm going to take Mearshart by knockout in the first round by, I'm going to say, a body shot. That left kick is really nasty. Next up, we've got the rematch between Pannie Kianzand and Macy Chiasson. This was the Ultimate Fighter, whatever fucking season it was, where Macy ended up beating Pannie Kianzand. And Chiasson is minus 175. Comeback on Kianzand is plus 145. To me, this matchup it's not as simple as like, yeah, Macy has evolved over the last few years where it's going to be a much more dominant win. That's really the opposite. I think that Macy Chiasson has both improved over the years and looked worse over the years. I think she's fought a certain level of competition where she's overperformed, and then she's fought a certain level of competition where she's looked absolutely terrible. Like she's got some really good wins on her record and near wins as well. So let's check her out. She's only lost 3 times. She's lost to Lena Landsberg, she's lost to Raquel Pennington, and Irene Aldana. But she beat Norma Dumont. I keep seeing that name, Norma Dumont, because like I literally been making a Norma Dumont shirt for like 6 fucking months. Like I've had to perfect it. Should have a website here soon with t-shirts, but like I'm almost sick of seeing her fucking name. But yeah, she beat Norma Dumont. I thought that was like a weird fight, but like the girl can wrestle, she can grapple. Her striking has developed a bit, but she is what I like to call like a crasher. She crashes in the girls. She's not the most technical at getting takedowns. She can get submissions. To me, Pannie has developed into a much better fighter over the years, where her submission defense has improved, her grappling itself has improved, her takedown defense has improved. She's not a complete fighter. I don't think she's a girl that's ever going to fight for the title, but she did fight the champ, and she didn't get finished by the current champ, Raquel Pennington. She's got the better striking. She is not going to have the reach advantage, unfortunately. That's going to go to Chiasson, 72 inches for her. Comeback on Pannie is 66. Now, interestingly enough, in their first fight, Kianzand just kind of bum rushed her, took her down, tried to go for submission. She eventually got it, but there was a moment there where Pannie got her in a pretty deep armbar that Chiasson was able to escape out of, but even the ability to get her in that position was impressive. I think Pannie is live here. I think she has learned from her past mistakes, and I think Macy makes so many mistakes in fights that they can get capitalized on. I think Pannie's going to be able to edge out a decision here, just landing the harder strikes, maybe even hurting Macy. Now, I think that her takedown defense has improved enough to like make it more competitive on the feet, where despite, Macy having kind of shitty striking, it's not terrible, it's serviceable, but I think she's going to be able to kind of bypass the reach, getting close, attack the body, maybe catch her with something, just land more strikes on the feet. And, this should be a fight where Macy just kind of bum rushes or takes her down repeatedly. But I liked what I saw against Caitlin Vieira for Pannie Kianzand. She got dominated on the mat, but I thought she did a lot of good stuff to like avoid getting submitted. It was just a much better grappler at that point. It's night and day compared to Macy Chiasson, right? It's like she's learned her lesson from the past. Like you're going from Caitlin Vieira, who I know is kind of a dumbass, but when it comes to like the grappling, much better than Macy Chiasson. I think she's going to look better here. She's kind of had that camp already to stuff takedowns, which didn't work. And I think it's going to work here if she's learning that again. Just has to kind of be mindful of Macy Chiasson's kind of wild striking, because Macy will catch you from time to time. Like, her striking's not great, but it's good enough to like surprise you. But I'll go with Kianzand by a decision here. All right, next bout, we've got Christian Rodriguez versus Isaac Dulgarian. Midwest Choppa versus C-Rod. We've got minus 135 for Isaac. Comeback on Christian is plus 110. I do have a bet on one of these guys, and that guy would be Christian Rodriguez. I've got him at plus 120. And the reason I'm going with C-Rod here is because I think there's a narrative about the guy. This is going to be at featherweight, right? He's moving up to featherweight at this point because, he has a lot of trouble making weight at like 135, and he's fought at featherweight before, and he's fought beautifully at featherweight. I think he's going to have, the cardio, not necessarily the advantage, because we don't really know if Isaac has any cardio issues. We do know that he's just never been past the first round. That does play into the reason why I'm going to Christian. But I think there's a misconception about Rodriguez here, that he might be the underdog because people think he's going to get out wrestled here. Like, he can't wrestle. That is not true. Like, Christian, not many people know this, but Christian has been wrestling for a long time. The guy's 26 years old. I'm going to assume he's been wrestling since the age of 3. And I mean, he's been wrestling with his homosexual thoughts for ages. I think all that thought of him just like fighting him off, like, no, I like girls. I think that's going to prepare him to be able to stuff the takedowns of Isaac Dulgarian, despite the fact of, like, maybe he wants to feel him up. But I've been saying that for a while. I kind of suspect that Christian might be a little gay. It's fine. I like playing with him and saying that his nickname is actually C-Rod, S-E-E Rod, like he likes to see the rod. But neither here nor there. I think Christian is a phenomenal fighter. I think he is great everywhere, other than, making weight sometimes is a problem. But I think he is capable of just beating a lot of dudes in a lot of different ways. He's got the great striking. He's just great Muay Thai, great boxing, great counters. He's comfortable on the feet, maybe not with his sexuality, but comfortable on the feet. He is dangerous on the mat, good sweeps. He's able to reverse position. He's able to get back up off from the bottom. He has the cardio to just make it hard for dudes trying to hold him down. On top of that, he does have nasty chokes where he can sweep you with those chokes, with the anacondas, the darces, the guillotines. The dude is solid. He's been training with the Pettises for a long time. It's almost like he's the third Pettis brother, the adopted Pettis brother, the Pettis brother that doesn't get invited to Christmas for reasons. But I really like C-Rod a lot. Like, he is one of my favorite fighters to watch in like the lower weight classes, because when you watch him, you see a lot of great stuff from the guy. You see how talented he is. And for him to be plus money against anybody is hard for me to pass up. I like Isaac Dulgarian too. The guy is dope as fuck. He runs through his competition, no problem. You can criticize the guy saying, yeah, he's never been past the first round, but is it his fault that he just beats the shit out of dudes? The dude has great wrestling. He's got a fantastic background, able to get dudes down, super strong. When he gets on top of you and he lands that ground and pound, it is a wrap, dude. Like, the fact that he took down what's his first name? Francis Marshall. He passes guard, he gets on top of him in the mount, and he just starts blasting him. It's like, this dude doesn't get paid by the hour. He just wants to get in and out, and I respect that about the guy. And there's so many questions about him. Like, I'm not saying he can't go 3 rounds. I'm not saying he's going to gas out. He might have great cardio, but I don't know that. I haven't seen it. I think this guy is super skilled. And if he's able to hold down Christian Rodriguez and beat his ass, and maybe even just edge out a decision against him, it's going to be impressive. But the thing about Christian is that he is going to be able to find the neck, threaten with guillotines, maybe not get them, but that's what I need to see. And I think that's what he's going to be able to do. He's consistently been able to do that to guys where he puts them in danger. He's able to beat them up on the feet. I think he's going to be the much better striker on the feet. Not to say that Isaac can't catch him or that his striking's bad. I just think he's more fluid, not gender fluid, but fluid. I really like Christian here. I think that he can put Isaac in danger. I think he can survive on the mat. I don't think he's going to get ran through. As much as Christian would love that, I think Isaac's going to be able to put him in some danger, but I think Christian's going to be able to like recover guard. This is the highest level competition that Isaac has faced. I think he's capable of overcoming that, but Christian's not going to just sit back. I'm going to say it anyways. I don't think Christian's going to be able to just sit back there and take it as much as he's so accustomed to. But I think Christian's going to make it really hard for Isaac. I think on the bottom, he's going to try to sweep him. He's going to just get back up and maybe wear on the gas tank of Isaac, who hasn't been in that spot in live competition. He might be doing that and doing the rounds with dudes at the gym, but in live competition where guys trying to fucking hurt you, it might be a different story where maybe Isaac doesn't get finished and he looks great, but he still loses the decision because Christian did the more. I think there's a good chance here that Christian can get that submission off on Isaac. If Isaac, say, maybe gets hit and he didn't really love it and he shoots for a takedown, that might be exactly what Christian wants. Snatches up the neck, gets a guillotine. The way he got that guillotine on Jonathan Pierce, I don't know if Isaac's going to be able to withstand that. Like, they are similar in height. They're 5'7". Jonathan Pierce had the ability of just having the longer legs and just kind of being able to create space and give him breathing room. I think Christian can get that submission in the later rounds, round number 2 or round number 3, when Isaac slows down a bit. He may still have great cardio, but he will slow down. Guaranteed on that. Maybe not significantly, maybe just enough for Christian to capitalize. So I'm going with Christian Rodriguez by a submission. I'm going to say round number 2. Great fight. This, to me, is the fight of the night. Like, I know I'm joking around about Christian and shit. I don't even know if he's gay. I don't give a fuck. The guy can fucking fight. And Isaac, the dude, runs through guys. What is there to say? Like, it's a great fight. I'm almost hoping that they didn't match him up together. Like, I kind of hope that Christian misses weight and they pull him out. I don't want to see either guy lose. But yeah, I'll go with C-Rod. Half a unit bet on C-Rod, plus 120. Next bet, we've got Kennedy and Nzechukwu versus Ovince St. Preux. And Nzechukwu's going to finish him. And I'm assuming under 1.5. I will go with knockout. The issue with Kennedy is that he's such a nice boy. He's such a sweetheart. And he is the African savage, but we don't always see that. And I say that almost every time we watch him. He got knocked out his last fight by being too eager and too... he's kind of known as a slow starter. So in this case, he tried to push the pace and he got caught. Ovince St. Preux, it's just those odds. Minus 500 for Kennedy, OSP plus 380. He's been knocked out a lot. He's just been hurt a lot. He's fighting a guy 9 years as junior. Kennedy's going to finish him. I don't know when, but it's going to happen. If Kennedy comes out tentative, I'll be worried if I have the under. The under right now is like 1.5 minus 145, which I'm tempted to parlay. I don't know. I don't know which version of Kennedy is going to show up because the guy is uber talented. He's got a lot of skills, but it's almost like he's afraid to hurt people sometimes. And then after he gets smacked up a bit, he's like, okay, I'm going to kill you. But yeah, I'll go with Kennedy. There's not much to say. OSP, he can probably counter Kennedy. Kennedy's not really known to have the greatest chin. He kind of keeps a high guard. I don't see a way OSP wins this fight. I think Kennedy's grappling itself has gotten significantly better. So if OSP tries to take him down, which OSP is a great sub, he's a great at getting submissions. The Von Preux choke. I just don't see it here. He's usually the bigger dude, and Kennedy's a fucking giant. Next bout, we've got the co-main event, Bryan Battle versus Loosa. Bryan Battle, the butcher, no longer Pooh Bear, is fighting the last ninja, Loosa. Funny enough, I think Bryan's going to take offense to that because I'm like, I'm actually a ninja. You're not a ninja. You're from Switzerland. Yeah, the co-main event, Bryan Battle, long dude, 6 foot tall, 77-inch reach, great kicks, great grappling. I think he's developing himself into a really good mixed martial artist. Loosa, fantastic striker, training out of a great camp in Killcliff. Good grappling for a guy his size, right? Like he's a very unassuming fighter, not in the sense of you looking at him because he's fully jacked. Even though he's super jacked, he actually has really good cardio. good striking. He can go for a long time. He can mix in takedowns. There's a lot of danger in this fight where he's going to have to outpoint Bryan Battle, because at a certain point, if Bryan starts getting the ball rolling, it's not going to be a great time for Ang. I do think that Ang Loosa does slow down eventually, where Bryan Battle doesn't. Bryan has really good cardio, and he's kind of got like that slender body that he can push a pace. He's strong enough, he's big enough to implement as well. And he's minus 150 and Ang Loosa plus 125. I think people are super anxious to fade Bryan Battle, but they don't see how good of a fighter he is. The guy is really solid. And he's only 29 years old. They're both 29, which is crazy because Ang Loosa looks like 33. Bryan has that Dragon Ball Z tattoo. The dude just died, so I think he's going to win this fight. Not because of that. It's just he has the skills to do so. He has the power to hurt Ang Loosa. He's got the wrestling to really wear on Ang. He has the length to keep it on the outside and poke at the body. I like his teeps on the outside. He uses a lot of kicks, throws them to like either have you block them. He just mixes things up a lot with those kicks, like teeps up the middle, high kicks. They're not always intended for them to land, but when they fucking land, they will put you out. And Ang Loosa, not that he's chinny, because he has been hurt on a few occasions, but he has that great conditioning that allows him to recover. He can get hurt. They both can. But I think Bryan Battle has the power. He's got the skill. He's got the grappling. He's got the cardio to match Ang Loosa. He's just a bigger dude. And Ang, to me, he doesn't really have a whole ton of knockout power. Like Fletcher did hurt Bryan Battle with an elbow that he didn't see coming, but he recovered well. I just think that Ang Loosa, as much as I do like the guy, because he is kind of a moneymaker, if you look at him, like he's going to make you a ton of money when he's fighting certain guys. I just think this is a really tough matchup for him. A guy like Bryan Battle, who can mix in takedowns, he can overwhelm you with striking and volume and knock you the fuck out and choke you out. The dude is kind of a menace here. Not to say that this is going to be an easy matchup or an easy battle for Battle. He's going to have to do everything I just mentioned. He's going to have to mix things up. He's going to have to be defensively sound. He's going to have to avoid Ang Loosa taking him down. If this becomes like a Ang Loosa landing good combinations, getting inside, landing to the body, and then Bryan just kind of being too slow, because I do think that's the biggest issue for Bryan, is that he's going to be a little too slow if it gets into the pocket. Then at that point, maybe Ang Loosa can get an opportunistic takedown and steal around and do it again. It's just don't let him get ahead of you, right? You got to push a pace on him to make him uncomfortable. You're the bigger, longer guy. Implement those tools, because he kind of waited a little too long against AJ Fletcher, and then when he started throwing that volume, it was like he's gonna fucking melt this guy, and then he eventually did. Loosa is going to be a little tougher because his cardio is a lot better. So I'm going to say he knocks him out in the third round or submits him in the third round. I like Battle in this spot. I think if he fights the way he should fight immediately, it's going to be him edging out these rounds until Loosa makes a mistake and he gets caught with something. So I'll go with Bryan Battle. I'm going to say TKO round number 3. And then main event of the evening, Tai Tuivasa Bam Bam versus Tybura, Marcin Tybura. Minus 134. Tuivasa come back on Tybura, plus 110. I'm not going to mince words, man. I got Tuivasa by knockout in the first round. He's got the 3-fight losing streak. He's minus 130 compared to the plus 110 of Tybura. He's what, 20? He's 31. Shit, I thought he was still 29. Tuivasa has been around for a long time. And as much as I have not liked what he's presented to me in the past, like his skill-wise is not top level, the dude has fought some really tough competition as of late. What he fought, Cyril Gane got knocked out. Sergey Pavlovich just fought for the fucking title, just knocked him out. And then Volkov got him in an Ezekiel choke. Like, that's the thing. Former interim champ in Gane fought for the interim championship in Pavlovich, the former number 1 contender, and then a future number 1 contender in Alexander Volkov here. If he continues his winning ways, that's a tough run of dudes that would have at this point run a train on Tybura. I know Volkov fought Tybura and they went to a decision. It is what it is, but those dudes would have obviously hurt him. And he's coming off of a knockout. And even though Tuivasa himself has like been on a knockout streak loss, I think his chin, his durability is just significantly better than Tybura's. Tybura is a guy that if you hurt him and you gas yourself out trying to finish him, he's going to take over, get you down, wear you out, beat you up. I think that's a possibility if Tuivasa does not get the finish in the first round. And I think he will. I think he will catch him. I think Tuivasa is just going to go after him immediately. He has the takedown defense early and the get up ability that a lot of the opponents that Tybura has beaten in the past don't have. Like if you go back, right, he beat Romanov. He edged out Romanov because Romanov was an idiot. He beat Blagoy just by out-voluming him, but Blagoy hasn't really had a whole ton of UFC wins. And then he beat like Walt Harris and Greg Hardy because they both gassed themselves out trying to whip his ass. And they just didn't have the cardio or the, honest to God, the willpower to do that. And Ty's going to have that in spades. He doesn't have the cardio, but he pushes through that. I say he takes a shot from Tybura to land his own shot. And as he puts it so eloquently, if he dinks him, he'll sink him, and he will sink him in the first round. I feel pretty confident in Tuivasa that I'm looking to put a bet on him once I go to the casino. I'll see where he's at, put some cash on him. But I do think he's going to knock him out. Like Tybura's chin isn't great. He's got some decent enough recovery if you allow him to recover, if you allow him to grab a hold of you. But I think Tuivasa is going to be just too good. He has been training his wrestling with AKA at one point. I think he's learned enough over the years to be able to like avoid getting caught in that Tybura spider web where he gets super hurt. He grabs a hold of you and he makes a mistake. Tuivasa, that is, lands on his back, and then Tybura just lays on him to recover. If that were to happen, then at that point, Tuivasa is just get rid of him. But I don't think that's going to happen. He's been in a situation like this before, and he has overcame that. He's got that experience on that losing streak. Was it 3 though? Let me go back and check. Where he was it was 3. He lost to Junior Dos Santos, Blagoy, and Spivak. And those were the Spivak one was super embarrassing. And after that, he was on that nasty knockout streak. He got Stefan Struve, Hunsucker, Greg Hardy, Sakai, Derek Lewis. I think he does that again here. He's going to get the knockout, get him back on track. He's going to get a couple more knockouts. He's still very young for a heavyweight. I think he's going to be able to overcome that lose streak, and he finishes him in the first round. Yeah, it's going to be a fun card. Again, like I think I'm loving the torture of these cards where I'm like, oh my God, like go to decision baby, go to a decision so bad. Oh my God. I wonder if there are guys like that. Like, oh, you like 12-second knockouts? Oh my God. Oh, I guess if you want to waste your money and pay for a pay-per-view where you only get to watch it for 12 seconds, that's on you. I'm more sophisticated. I rather watch it go to a decision. Yeah, that's more of a sophisticated taste. I go to events and I bring my own beer stein. If you want to drink out of plastic cups, that's on you. Oh, I fucking hate those guys. I feel as if, for real, that the level of MMA fan, because it's becoming more mainstream, is getting more snooty and more like pussy-ish. We're like, oh, I can't bear to see people talking trash about each other. Leave the family out of this. I'm like, they're gonna fucking get into a cage and try to literally drink each other's fucking blood if it gets to that point. Whatever. Anyways, Johnny, TigerBomb MMA. Like, share, subscribe. If you don't subscribe, you are a C-Rod.